All right, Prof. Bheki Mngomezulu, Director of the Center for the Advancement of Non-Racialism and Democracy at the Nelson Mandela University, joins us to discuss. A very good evening to you, sir. Thanks so very much for joining us here on SABC News, Prof.
Good evening, Sis Flo, and good evening to your viewers, and thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. So, okay, what's your take then on the NFP's many woes, if one can say?
You know, Sis Flo, let us be honest about this issue. What is happening in the NFP is disappointing on many fronts. First of all, you recall that when the party was formed in 2011, it made a significant impact, not just in KwaZulu-Natal during the local government election, but also in the national election in 2014.
Yeah.
So it did very well under the leadership of the late Kamakwaza Msebe. But since her passing, there have been a number, in fact, even before her passing, when she took ill, almost everyone wanted to lead the party, which was against the constitution of the party. And right now, there are two decisions that the party needs to take. The first one, which is the most immediate one, is the one we are just referring to at the beginning of this interview, when we're referring to them deciding as to who the leader is, so that at least they can clear that with the IEC. Then the second decision they need to make is, in the interim, which political party are they going to work with between the ANC and the IFP? Because had they decided on these two issues, the councillors that have been killed in KwaNongoma would not have been killed. They died because of this uncertainty and then, of course, trust deficit amongst members of the organization. And all of these things do not augur well for the organization.
I mean, Prof, will they get their house in order? I mean, as you rightly say, these leadership squabbles were kind of anticipated. I mean, if you think of it, from the perception of a family, for example, if, the matriarch falls ill, you start to see the problems and they can only get worse once that person goes. And isn't that exactly what is playing out at this time when we are referring to the NFP? So can we possibly say that we are surprised?
We are not surprised, simply because our politicians in the main, they've lost sense of direction. They don't see the bigger picture. They think about the here and now. If I'm contesting you, Sis Flo, and to the extent that we kill the political party, then where is political wisdom in that? Because I'm going to fight you, I might as well win, or you may win, but the party will be non-existent, which means that we'll be having no one to lead or the party to call our home. So there is lack of political maturity. So my sense, therefore, is that there is a potential for the NFP to unite, but it all depends on the political maturity of the individuals involved. If they don't show that sense of political maturity, the status quo will remain, or the situation will get even worse, to the extent that they might not participate in next year's elections. Because already we have reference points on what happened when the party was unable to contest an election due to a technical glitch, where branches knew that they were going to get the money from the higher body or the higher leadership, and that did not happen. Only one area, in Isimutu or Mutu, where the party contested an election, and they should have learned from that. And then with these party squabbles, of course, the party has lost significantly. One would have expected that by now they would have learned, but it doesn't look like this is the case.
Does this necessarily benefit the IFP? Because, there was this perception that, those who joined NFP were disgruntled, former IFP members, or does this in fact benefit other parties that, are attempting to make inroads within KZN? Top of head, I can think of, EFF, for example. Would it benefit EFF, or does this in fact actually benefit the IFP at the end of the day?
The reality flow is that if a political party has internal squabbles and therefore political instability from within, other political parties will capitalize on that. That is just a matter of principle. But in the case you are referring to, obviously the IFP will be the main beneficiary in this case, because the majority of the people who formed the core of the NFP are former members of the IFP. So then they might as well go back home, as it were. You have seen what has happened in KwaNongoma, for example, where the IFP had 20 seats, and then the NFP had 18 and 14, and then the ANC had 8. So when the NFP and the ANC worked together, they got 22 seats, and then they were able to unseat the IFP. So then if there are these internal problems within the NFP, then it means that the IFP will be the one party that is going to benefit immensely compared to other political parties. That does not mean, by the way, that all members of the NFP would then automatically join the IFP. The others will go to the ANC. As right now, there are divisions. Some are saying the NFP must work with the ANC. Others are saying it must work with the IFP. And as for the smaller parties like the EFF or D and others, they may gain 1 or 2 votes, but their support will be insignificant. The main player will be the IFP, and then the second one will be the ANC.
Yeah. And, where does one begin? When the NFP has been told to get their house in order, otherwise next year will be a disaster for them. Where should they begin? I mean, there's the serious issues, for example, the issue of factions, or sort of the obvious problems that they have on the surface. But then there's also like petty administrative issues where fees are not being paid, embarrassing problems, really, non-payment of registration fees and so forth. So, if you were to be advising the NFP, where would you say they should actually then begin?
Sister, let's take the biblical approach. Biblically, if ever you and I have a problem, it will be unwise for us to get Miss Piri to come and assist us. We must first try to find each other. Then if we fail, we bring in Piri, and then if we fail again, then we bring in more people. So in essence, what it means, therefore, is that leaders of the NFP are the ones who are supposed to take the lead in addressing this issue, because they are the ones who brought the party into this mess that the party finds itself in. So they are the first people to start the process. Then if they fail to find one another, then they can seek advice from outsiders, people who are not interested in any political position, people who are not interested in anything within the NFP, but who are mostly concerned about the future of this country. Because some of us, for example, we don't care which individual wins an election, which political party wins an election. All we are particularly concerned about is the future of this country, which is why you will find us talking to different political parties, because for as many as political parties participate in an election, then it means that our democracy will mature, and then there will be political stability, economic stability, job creation, and all of that. That is all we're interested in. So the NFP must take the lead. If they fail, then they must consider bringing other people to try and assist them.
All right, Siyabonga Hlakahla. Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, Director of the Center of Advancement of Non-Racialism and Democracy at the Nelson Mandela University, speaking to us there around the NFP's woes, of course, primarily in KZN.